When I stepped into the house where I'd spent my childhood, it no longer felt familiar. The comforting scent of home had been replaced by something colder: greed. They were all there waiting for me in the living room. My mother with her pearls gleaming under the light, my uncle wearing that same smug grin he perfected years ago, and two unfamiliar lawyers who looked far too comfortable. A pot of tea sat neatly on the table, as if this was just another family visit. "Sit down, dear," my mother said sweetly, gesturing to the empty chair opposite her. Between us lay my grandfather's will, the same one he'd entrusted to me because, in his words, "You're the only one who can't be bought." I took my seat slowly. Her voice changed, soft and sharp. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Just sign it over. The properties belong to the family." Their eyes were fixed on me, filled with hunger, expectation, and calculation. I almost laughed. Instead, I smiled faintly and said, "That's interesting. I brought someone too." A ripple of confusion crossed their faces as my lawyer entered from the hallway, tablet in hand, a video already queued up. 2 months before, none of this had been clear. When my grandfather passed away, I felt hollow. He'd raised me after my father's accident, shaped who I became, and warned me often about our family's obsession with money. "Greed," he'd tell me, "wears the same smile as love until you learn to tell them apart." When his lawyer gave me a sealed envelope with my name on it, I thought it was a goodbye letter. It wasn't. Inside was his will. He had left everything: his business shares, his land, the old family house. To me, no one else. Not my mother, not my uncle, just me. I knew they wouldn't accept it quietly. My mother stopped speaking to me within a week. Then came the whispers, how she'd gone behind my back to meet Grandpa's attorney, claiming I'd manipulated him in his final days. I didn't react. Not yet. I waited, just like Grandpa had taught me. Soon, calls began coming in from family friends, asking me to do the right thing. My uncle suddenly wanted to help manage the estate, and when I heard they'd arranged a so-called family meeting to settle the inheritance, I understood exactly what was coming. They wanted to corner me. So I prepared. I hired a forensic lawyer in secret. We authenticated every signature, every document, every mental health record from Grandpa's last year. And then, hidden under his old desk drawer, I found it, a small USB drive taped beneath the wood. Inside was a video of him sitting in his armchair, speaking directly into the camera. "If they try to take this from you," he said calmly, "show them this, and remind them I knew exactly what I was doing." That was the moment my grief turned to resolve. Now, sitting across from them, I watched their faces as my lawyer pressed play. Grandpa's voice filled the room, steady, wise, impossible to argue with. He spoke about everything. My mother's past debts, my uncle's failed attempt to sell the farm without permission. Then he said my name, his tone warm and sure. "She's the only one who earned it." When the screen went dark, the silence that followed was thick. My mother's complexion had gone pale. My uncle muttered something under his breath. Even the lawyers looked uneasy. "I told you," I said quietly, leaning forward. "I brought someone too." My lawyer slid the final document across the table, an injunction filed that very morning, barring any attempt to contest or transfer the will. Their plan had already fallen apart before they had begun. My mother tried to gather herself. "You think this makes you strong," she said, her voice trembling. "You're abandoning your own family." I met her eyes. "No," I said evenly. "I'm walking away from people who stop being family the moment they try to steal a dead man's last wish." She opened her mouth to argue, but said nothing. The power she'd always carried seemed to crumble right there. I stood, picked up the will, and turned toward the door. Before leaving, I glanced back once. The room was heavy with shame and silence. "It didn't have to be this way," I said. "All you had to do was be honest." That night, driving home with the windows down, I thought of Grandpa, the long afternoons on the porch, his laughter, his lessons about building something that lasts. He had known they'd come for it all. He had trusted me to protect it. I once wished things would go back to how they were. Family dinners, laughter, the illusion of togetherness. But illusions fade, and truth remains. As the wind rushed through the car, I felt something unshackle inside me. I hadn't taken anything from them. I'd simply defended what was rightfully mine. In time, my mother learned that the lawyers she'd hired were under investigation for fraud, a twist Grandpa had likely foreseen. His final gift wasn't wealth. It was clarity.